Hey, Reviews and Done. Who's giving you a dose this week?
What's going on, world? Once again, it's your boy Derek Dunn back with another A1 interview. My guest today has shared the screens of the likes of Denzel Washington, Liam Neeson, been directed by the legendary Spike Lee, also worked with hip hop icons Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, and 50 Cent. You've seen him make guest appearances on shows like Law and Order, True Blood, and Reacher, but currently my man is the lead in a horror western called Resurrection Road. That's right, folks. We're talking about the incomparable Mr. Malcolm Goodwin. Welcome to the line, sir. How you doing today?
Hey Derek, how's it going, man? Thanks for having me, man.
Well, I am highly blessed, highly favored, and looking forward to chopping it up with you.
Ditto, ditto.
Yeah, so what can you tell us about this new film, Resurrection Road?
Dude, it's a wild ride, man. Yeah, I'm so proud of everybody involved in this film for getting it done. But essentially, it's a film that takes place during the American Civil War, and it follows a squad of six soldiers, essentially sent on a suicide mission to destroy these long-range guns on a Confederate fort. And I play Sergeant Barabbas, an ex-slave, and the leader of the squad, who's determined to beat the odds and do the impossible in exchange for him and his men's freedom. But we soon find out that the enemy is is not only the Confederates, but some supernatural beings.
Very dope. So, reading the script, what was your first reaction to your character and the overall arc that the characters go through?
Dude, I tell you what, man, I cried in the first few pages. I connected to that character, in terms of the loss that Barabbas endures in those first 5 pages, with his, eighth, his wife who's 8 months pregnant, and also me being a new dad, dude. I was hit. I could not imagine seeing what he had going through, what he had to go through. So my heart was heavy. And I was emotional from the get-go, but it made me understand and feel so much empathy for Barabbas and his plight. And obviously that's not including the time period that, he's living in. And so it was, no, I was excited to bring this character to life and to stay true to what he's endured and go on this also on this crazy mission, with this squad. And obviously when it flips in terms of this supernatural side, it kind of felt like From Dusk to Dawn, Robert Rodriguez flick a little bit. And I was just like, oh, I didn't see that coming. So that was super exciting. And I'm like, and just loving action and horror and thrillers. I was just like, oh man, I get to do some stunts, get to do some gore, get to have some wild fight scenes. So I was excited. I'm like, sign me on. I am in.
Very cool. So, I want to take it back to Reacher really quick. And on that show, you were kind of the moral compass
Right.
of the show. Really stood out. Was hoping your character would come back, but can't have everything that we like.
Right.
But I gotta ask, man, I've always heard that Alan Richardson is it's very low key, very down to earth, a very humble type of cat. So how was it hanging out with Alan on set, and how did you build up that camaraderie with his character?
Dude, listen, man, Alan deserves everything that he's getting. This is the most down to earth dude, laid back. He got a great sense of humor. So to see him literally turn that thing off to play Reacher is wow. He does it in a heartbeat, man. But Alan was so locked in to play Reacher, man. I remember our first table read that we did, and on table reads, usually you're reading from the script, and Alan's off book. And then I had a feeling. I just had a gut feeling. I'm like, he's going in. I'm like, I'm gonna be off book too. So he threw his pages aside. I threw my pages aside. And then the table reads in front of all the producers. We're going head to head, toe to toe in the table read. And that's when we knew. We dapped it up. It was like, yeah, this is gonna be good. But it was fun, man. It was a really, really fun experience. I love that character to death. He's only in the first book, but who knows? He did make an appearance in the second season, and Manili also. She's getting her own show. Yes, let's go, Maria Sten. Let's go. And she was in her character was in the first book, but they brought her back. So they did set the rules where characters are can come back whether or not they're in that book or not.
So looking over your career, man, you've done a lot. I mean, you're doing hard now. You've done action with Reacher. You did historical drama with Spike, Miracle of St. Anna. You've done
Yeah.
family flicks with Ice Cube and Long Shots. So
Wow.
I mean, is there one genre that you want to do that you haven't had a chance to explore yet?
You know what? I think a good question, man. And thanks for reminding me about all that stuff, man. There's sometimes you just forget. You just kind of moving on to the next. Um, and those are all great experiences. But I would think if I can get into superhero movies, man. I mean, I always say, let me be my favorite character growing up was the Incredible Hulk, and I still have that. I'm like, put me in. Let me play, let me play Bruce Banner.
Very cool. Yeah, I can see that. So, man, let's take it back in time again. So, I got to take it back to '05 when you were in Get Rich or Die Trying with Curtis Jackson, Mr. 50 Cent. So, I'm in my 40s, but I remember just how big his celebrity was in the early 2000s. So, what was it like, being in your 20s, being on set with 50 and Terrence Howard and Joey Bryan and Omar Benson Miller during the Get Rich or Die Trying era?
Dude, I tell you, I don't think I've ever told this story publicly, but originally when I auditioned for that movie, um, the director, his name was Jim Sheridan. And so when I auditioned for the role and the role that Terrence Howard got, it was between him and I for that particular role. So I didn't get the role. But in that audition, Jim Sheridan said, "Have you ever been in like a big movie?" I said, "No, I never, not yet. I was just out of college." He was like, "I'm gonna put you in your first movie." We had an audition that was supposed to last 10 minutes, and I'm in that room for about an hour. And we're just improvising and cooking it up. So I didn't get the part. 10 months pass, not thinking about the movie. There's big billboards of 50 with the gun, holding the baby with the gun, in the small of his back. The movie comes out in 30 days. I get a phone call randomly. It's from Jim Sheridan. And he's like, "Do you have your passport?" I'm like, Who's this?" He's like, "This is Jim Sheridan from Do you have your passport?" I'm thinking something, one of my boys is clowning me or something. And he's just like, "I told you were going to be in your first film. I was going to put you in your first movie. And I'm doing that. I'm flying you out to Ireland to shoot to shoot some scenes with 50." So the movie was already shot. The movie's already shot. The movie's about to come out. There's advertisement. I'm flown to Ireland, and 50 was out there because he was doing a European tour. Jim Sheridan, he lives out there. And we go up in there and they created this character. I think I was the character, like I say now, I was a character that like took Ja Rule's chain or something like that. I heard the whole story on set. And so we do the scene, we do those three scenes. And Jim told me that maybe he was like, the movie's already done. So, these scenes may not make the cut. But dude, I got to work with 50, man, and that was my first time working with them. I worked with them on another movie years later called Freelancers. But man, I was just like, 50 is a dope actor and visionary. And I was blown away by that. I'm not gonna lie, I was intimidated at first. I'm like, oh my gosh, how this is gonna go. But him and that entire cast was those scenes didn't make the cut. They didn't make the cut. They went with the original cut. But I got that firsthand experience to work with him and Tori Kittles and all these other great actors, and especially Jim Sheridan on that set, man. So it made me feel like, I can have a future in this business, whether the scenes were cut or not. But at least they gave me some fair notice on that.
All right, fam. So, you from Brooklyn, man. So I gotta stop you real quick or see what you're gonna say, as a hip hop head. Give me your top three songs from Hove.
Uh, my top three songs from Hove. I mean, oh my gosh, man. Hard Knock Life. Um, I'm on a spot here with Hove. Dude, it's like, if you asked me Biggie, that would have been an easy one. I was more on the Biggie side, to be honest with
We can
you.
go with Big then.
But I was but yeah, I'm on the spot here, man. I'm on the spot here. I would say I'm gonna go with Hard Knock Life, man. I'm gonna go with Hard Knock Life. That's gonna be my one. The other two, I'm not thinking about the top. I'll tell you albums. Reasonable Doubt. Reasonable Doubt is still one of my favorite albums. And I remember one of my boys was like, "Yo, man, I'm like, I haven't really listened to Jay-Z. I'm more of a Biggie head." And he left me with that. My boy Lyndon McCrae left me with that Reasonable Doubt CD in my car, and I bumped it all summer long, and that was like my favorite album that entire year.
Yeah, it changes so much, man. Like I said, I'm a Biggie, J, Nas. It's like when you ask somebody like their top five or their top three, like, it might change tomorrow because the thing about Jay is his catalog is so thick.
Right.
Every single album has at least, five bangers on it. So like it's always hard to say you're a top five or top three.
Yeah, it was hard for me, man. Like it was like because I grew up listening to like, G rap. It was like G rap, Rakim. It was and Big L. We went to the same school, same high school, and grew up. I was living in Harlem at that time. Because my teenage years were in Harlem. Were in Harlem. So but G rap, I was a big G rap fan. Rakim. Biggie, Nas, I stopped writing rhymes after Nas. I was like, I can't do that. He retired a lot of pens. I was like, I can't do that. That is another level. Let me just focus on this acting thing. Let me focus on this acting and filmmaking thing. Nas got that.
Yeah, shout out to Mr. Nasir Jones. Well, all right, sir. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to chop it up with me. You all can find Resurrection Road on all digital platforms. Is there anything you'd like to add, and where can fans find you on social media?
Yeah, you can find me on Malcolm J. Goodwin on all social platforms. And I just want to thank everybody in advance for checking out the film. Have a good time with it. And shout out to Saban Films, Rebellion, $1 Studios, Pantia, Ashley Cahill, the director, and the entire cast and crew on this project. I thought they did a great job. And it's just also really, really most importantly, just great people.
All right, thank you again, sir. And I look forward to watching your career flourish.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yo, what's going on? This is Drizzy Drake.
Hi, this is Rihanna.
Hey, what's up? This is Ludacris.
What's up, y'all? This is Nicki Minaj.
You're rocking with the best. It's Reviews and Done.